Okay, well, good evening and a very special welcome to this unusual Thursday evening lecture. Unusual because we usually would have you in the lecture classroom. However, today we're using the meditation room because we have a conflict and we didn't want to make any changes in the schedule. And so for those of you on the Zoom as well, this is an unusual connection that we're making today, but it will be no less effective. And I expect that you will get the value that we would want you to get from this very special topic. So let me just read directly from the program listing that you may have received online. The topic is the link of love, purity, and protection. The link of love, purity, and protection. And for those of you who are familiar, we're talking about the Rakshabandhan, this bond of love that's always commemorated and revered at this time. The center will actually be having what we would call the Rakhi tying on Saturday. That's a program that will begin at 4:30, and we will have the usual in the sense that it's annual. And what we wanted to use this session for is just to really talk about well, the link of love and what's so we might use the title of that song you might be familiar with. What's love got to do with it? And so we are going to be looking at that, and then you can see why it is so essential. Not only that it's not only that we're maintaining a tradition, but we're maintaining a very important link. And there is no time like the present where we need to invoke that link of love that will heal so much of the divisiveness in the world and wherever we are. The division that's being made manifest in the country and maybe in your neighborhoods and in your jobs and everywhere is something that that this particular time and festival and subject addresses in a very meaningful way. And so it is, as we always remind you, no matter what the situation is, no matter what the problems that we are facing, it has a spiritual solution. And of course, the reason that it's a solution is because of love, because what we've come to understand, regardless of your religious background, is that God is love. And so if you are going to solve a problem, and by solving, I mean remove the disharmony and the discontent and the fact that we have become so disconnected, we can certainly be united in our oneness. And so what we want you to be thinking about is the essential qualities that make us one. And of course, what we're up against is all of the identities, if you will, that cause us to feel divided and to be divided. All of our courses, all of our work focuses on reminding you that most of what you've identified with is not who you are. But those very identities are the seeds and the cause of all of the divisiveness, because it brings out, it emphasizes differences, whether we're talking about nationality, whether we're talking about gender, whether we're talking about profession, whether we're talking about class and income, or race, or certainly religion. That is that is at the heart of all of the unrest and all of the conflict. And so the one place where we can find common ground is, of course, understanding that who we essentially are these spiritual beings, regardless of the bodies that we occupy, regardless of the jobs that we have, regardless of our opinions, so that we are already always one. And it is that oneness that we need to identify with and to have emerge. And so those essential qualities, of course, include love, but of course, it also includes peace. It also includes purity. It also includes truth. It also includes the kind of connectedness where we are able then to identify with the essential us. Okay, and so this force that it is a function of its own power, and that's part of who we are. It's in our peace, our purity, our power, our knowledge, our love, truth, and of course happiness as well, because those qualities, when they are made manifest, work to bring to our society, to our communities, all the things that we are looking for in all of the wrong places. And so, because of not understanding that oneness, we are not making manifest in the world the things that would bring us that happiness. You know, you ask people about their jobs, and the last time I looked at a statistic, more than 75% of the people are at odds with what they are doing. Okay, and I think it's even as high as 90%. I hesitate to say exactly 90, but I'm almost certain it was at that point. So when you have something that most of us are engaged in for the majority of our days that we are at odds with, then that certainly makes for a lot of unhappiness. And the main reason for that is that we're looking for for satisfaction and happiness within our work itself. And that's not where it's to be found. Um, you want to be in a job that you like, certainly. Everyone wants to like what they do, but sometimes we make decisions based on, of course, income, because you have to live and you have expenses. And so what you may like to do will not provide you with your needs. And so you compromise. You sacrifice your um, preference for a particular type of job in order to have the right type of income. So there's a lot of alienation there. However, if we understand that our function really is making God manifest in the world, if we understand that regardless of the job that we're doing, if we can have those qualities emerge in our daily activities, then the activity doesn't really matter. The happiness comes from what you are giving rather than what you are getting. And so all of the ways that we are relating to each other in the world that we're living in is relating in a way where we have a lot of unfulfilled expectations and desires that are not consistent with giving, but in getting. And so the reason even that we have that perspective is because we are not content ourselves, meaning we don't see ourselves as whole and complete. And the only way we were able to do that is when we are able to identify with the source of all that we are. And this is of course why we meditate, why the whole function and purpose of Raj or yoga meditation is to establish that link. And so the times that we're living in that are so divisive is a function of that disconnection, is a function of that misunderstanding, that misidentification, if you will. And so all of our efforts is to have you have that understanding, that full knowledge of who you are. And once you are able to have that, then the essential you begins to emerge. And so you can establish that link of love and purity and protection. And of course, the that we even feel we need to be protected is also a function of not knowing that we ourselves have the power within to provide for ourselves and others the kind of safety and security based on the kind of relationships that we can and should be having with each other. And so love, the harmony, the protection, the understanding, and the level of security and comfort that comes with that environment is what we are supposed to be able to naturally bring to any situation. We have our own energy field that really communicates very, very accurately. And so when we are out of sync, when we are disconnected, when we are um, unhappy, that communicates more accurately and louder than anything you could say. And what we are experiencing in our environment is that lack of love, that lack of understanding, that level of maturity about our own well-being that would have us not feel that we are incomplete or that we are missing something. And so this journey that we're on together is a journey that is designed to have us come to that place where all of this becomes our natural way of being, our realization, if you will. And this journey within is designed to do that. And so the Rakshabandhan annual commemoration is a great opportunity for us to be reminded that we are one, and that the things that divide us are artificial, and that what's real is that invisible connection based on the fact that we are these beings of light that are forever and eternal, and therefore we need not be fearful and anxious, and we can be giving, and we can be for community rather than individual, and we can be for um, sharing rather than wanting to take. The choices that we're making consumption over conservation, and individualism over community, and of course competition over cooperation, so that we've lost that sense of unity that comes with understanding. And so the bond is already among us, but we're not conscious of it. We're not conscious of it because when we think of God being in our own image, it's the wrong image that comes to mind. It's the physical image that comes to mind rather than the spiritual. When you look in the mirror, that is not the image. That's the what you might say. That's the costume. That's the role that you have to play here. That's requiring that particular costume at that time and that particular action. But you are the being within, and so it is that we want to have you connect with. And so for a few minutes, I want to just lead us into just a brief meditation, so that you can have that experience of the self. And for those of you online, the the purpose here is to bring you into the gathering as well. And so that is always possible spiritually, even if we are miles apart. And that's what's meant by being limited as opposed to being unlimited. And so the gathering includes you on Zoom. It includes all of us in this room. And so whatever posture that you're in, just make yourself as comfortable as possible. And we will just have a few minutes of meditation. And then I want to talk some more about what this bond means, and what it is that what is it that we are binding? What is it that we are connecting? Okay. So just sit quietly and go within. And as you listen in, Keep in mind that you are the listener, that you are not the sound. And whatever you are experiencing, any discomfort or agitation, you are the experiencer. And so that you can observe, and from a position of observing, you can detach. And so you're able to experience your own being, within this body. And just hold that perspective. And you will become aware of the life that you are generating. And it is in that awareness, it is within that understanding that you have an appreciation of your own power. You are the source of it all. You give it meaning. You give it whatever perspective that you have. And for this moment, hold that perspective of power, that perspective of comfort, that perspective of security, that perspective of control, and most of all, that perspective of calm and peace. And to experience that peace. And hold that space of comfort and peace and joy. Om Shanti. And so when we talk about this bond, that is what we're linking. That is the link that we want to establish. That is the oneness that through meditation and through this inwardliness, where you understand and appreciate that you are in the body but not of the body, when you understand that you are at cause, and you are then able to take control of all of your circumstances, and you stop experiencing life as happening to you, but rather that you are making life happen. As we sit here now, we are reminded, especially in our classes that we have on meditation, that no 2 seconds are the same. So even as we sit here, life continues to unfold, and no 2 seconds are the same. And also, no 2 souls are the same. No two perspectives are the same. And so within each of us, there is that individual speciality and that opportunity for us to make our own world, even in the larger context of the outer world. And so when you're able to maintain that perspective, then you're always at peace. You're always content. You're always fearless. There isn't the insecurity, and there isn't the anxiety, and there isn't the stress. And so when we are tying this bond with each other, what we're doing is making that connection firm, making that protection firm, making that love firm. In other words, the 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 bracelet that we tie is a physical manifestation of what we already have spiritually. But because we're not in that awareness, the physical, ceremonial, and the wearing of the bracelet allows us to keep that in mind. And so the bracelet that you're going to get is not going to be something that will last forever. But what we would want that lasts forever is the understanding that we're all connected and that we can depend on each other and that we can count on each other. And it's in that environment, it is in that space that you would find it easy to share. You would find it easy to love. You would find it easy to be compassionate and to be kind and to be forgiving. And those things that militate against our peaceful well-being can start to fall away. And of course, we know that we want to move away from anger. We want to move away from greed. We want to move away from those things that pit us against each other. And so part of all of the effort that we make is to develop this spiritual fitness, which we are so lacking. On the physical side, we do spend a lot of time and effort in being physically fit. And of course, that means we pay attention to what we are putting in our bodies, what we are eating, and what we're drinking, and so on. And of course, we want to make sure that we're getting enough exercise, and at the same time, we also need to make sure that we get enough rest. On the spiritual side, we have to do the same thing and maybe even more. And so you want to nurture that love. And of course, how that's nurtured is with understanding, with knowledge, with becoming more aware of who you are. And our meditation and yoga exercises is where we find rest and comfort for that spirit. And of course, the exercise comes from the kind of activity that we are engaged in terms of our thoughts. And so, as we're reminded, we're always having thoughts because thoughts are going through the mind all the time. But having thoughts are not the same as thinking. And so we want to be choosing the right thoughts. And so when you are anxious and stressful and angry, then that's not possible. And so we have to work to distance ourselves from any feeling of need to be at the mercy of those external forces. And the whole program of spirituality is designed to do that for you. And so as we look around us every day, instead of seeing differences, then we would start to see what we have in common. We would start to see how we are able to come together rather than to be avoiding the kind of relationships that bring us too close together, because our oneness would be very evident. And so this is the time, especially for that, because we're in that situation everywhere, and you can now begin to take responsibility for everywhere, because you're not limited by the artificial boundaries that we identified, like race and gender and nationality and all of those things. So you start to be able to see beyond that. And it is with that in mind that we do this commemoration annually, and of course continue with our daily practices, which we hope that you'll be able to join us on Saturday for that. So before I go any further, anyone has any questions or comments? Anything that we've said so far that may resonate with you, that you may want to share with those of us who are here, or even ask a question, and I'd be glad to do that. How many of you are actually meditating at least frequently, if not daily? If you can, yeah. Okay. And what's your experience of meditation? It doesn't matter how long you've been meditating. What is your experience of it?
When it is being connected with Papa, you feel at peace in that love, in that company, you feel secure.
And before you became a meditator, is there like a before and after for you? In other words, how has your yeah, so you can see how your life has changed, or how your relationships have changed. Yeah. Any
Because you make this pass, you don't react to them.
Yeah.
It doesn't face you no more.
Yeah, you have that objectivity then, where you can distinguish between yourself and not only the body, but also the whole environment. And
And you're being more soul conscious than body conscious.
Yeah.
And you have to be connected.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah. Well, it makes a whole lot of difference when you see yourself as timeless, when you see yourself as eternal, because then you're not judging yourself by one moment in time, or one day, or even 1 week, or 1 month, or in fact, even one lifetime. But if you're not there yet with regard to understanding and appreciating that we keep coming, just like the months and the days and the years, even if you just see it in terms of this one life, it would change your perspective. But so often we focus on one particular error or one particular incident and have and as that we have that define the whole day, the whole month, and sometimes your whole years. So we forget that we are a whole book, and there one chapter or one page or one paragraph should not define you or define your life. And in fact, we 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 have to learn that forgiveness is for us, okay? Because we are harder on ourselves even than on others, and so it's if you can't forgive yourself, it's impossible for you to forgive others. So the forgiveness always starts with you. And of course, once you understand that we are connected, sometimes you have a bad situation or even a good situation, and people will say, in defining it or in taking responsibility for it, they'll say, well, it's 50-50. Well, the truth is it's 100-100. Okay, it's not 50-50. It's just like if someone if you ask someone to let's say someone may be going to the store and you ask them to bring you a Pepsi, okay? And 10 minutes later they come back and they bring a Coke, okay? Who's responsible for that? Where does the responsibility lie?
The person who bought it, because he
Person-
wasn't listening.
Okay. So the person who,
Did the favor,
mhm,
made the mistake.
okay. Well, that's one perspective. Is there another perspective?
Well, they might not have had Pepsi available.
Well, let's rule that out. Let's just say, as the sister over here is saying, they didn't follow your request or your instruction, or they weren't paying attention. But don't you have a responsibility to make sure that you are understood?
You write it down.
Well, then they would probably bring the right thing back. So in other words, you have to take responsibility not only for what you say, you have to take responsibility for what is heard. And so when the wrong item comes back, it's 100%, but you are correct. Then the way to take full responsibility for what you're asking for is, in this case,
Write it
maybe to write it down. You could even, as some parents do, if they're sending the child to the store and they know the proprietor, they would call the proprietor and say, Mr. Phillips, I'm sending Susan to get this amount of butter or something like that. So that ensures that, so in other words, you're taking responsibility for it.
I'm gonna tell you a funny story. My brother was sent to the store to buy eggplant, but in Spanish it's called berenjena.
Okay.
But he told the guy at the store he wanted poison, veneno.
Okay.
And, they actually called my father, and my father says, I want eggplant. And he goes, but he said, and my father goes, don't listen to him, just give him eggplant.
Well, that's an interesting example, because that's not only the opposite of what you want.
Yeah, but in
that-
Spanish, veneno and berenjena
Yes.
sound alike.
Yeah, yeah. And so when we live our lives that way with each other, then nobody is made wrong. Okay? Because then we have that empathy, and we have that unlimited perspective that, so you make room and allowances for error without making anyone wrong. It's like someone correcting you, that you can be corrected with criticism, or you can be corrected without. Which is more effective?
Without.
Yeah, without, because when you correct with criticism, what is communicated is the criticism and not the correction. And so these are all the kinds of examples and the level of awareness that you are able to rise to with this bond of love, because it is unconditional, and you put yourself, you see each other as you see yourself. So you make allowances for weaknesses, and you become strong together. And of course, you use their strengths, and they are able to use yours. And again, this bond represents all of that. So it's not just the brother making sure that the sister is protected. We are all each other's keeper, brothers and sisters. So it's not a biological connection, it's a spiritual connection. And so, I mean, you can have the Rakhi tied, and you can leave here and walk around the corner and step right over the homeless guy in the street, um, without thinking of him as a brother soul. Okay, especially in New York, they have these signs that if you see something, say something. Okay. However, what they are really drawing your attention to is anything that you might consider dangerous, or something that might be harmful to you. They're not talking about all of the marginalized, and the homeless, and the hungry, and even the ones who have pretty much lost their minds. Okay, we don't have a mechanism to do something about that, or to say something about that. Who do you say it to, and what do you do about it? Well, this bond of love is the mechanism, because you don't just see the problem over there, but you see it as part of the whole. And you, even if it's just, as we sometimes say, good wishes and pure feelings, even if that is all that you extend. Positive vibrations, or sakash, as it's sometimes referred to, and compassion. That registers. So even if you walk by and say, well, as sometimes said, there but for the grace of God go I, you are including that person in your world. You're not excluding them. That is what the bond is about. So it's not
You're saying one sweet word to make a difference to that person.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And we practice what some of you might know as drishti. Okay, where we communicate soul to soul by just how we're interacting with each other physically. And a very easy way to send those good wishes and pure feelings to those who are marginalized is to look at them. But we don't even want to look at them. Okay, it's like they're not there. Now I understand that this is difficult to see the homeless and the sick and the diseased and the as yes, exactly. You would have to see them as a soul. So that this bond is a tie to the soul. It's not to the body. And this is why it doesn't matter if you lose it after a couple of weeks or it gets faded away in the shower or something like that. Because the tie is not a physical one. It's a spiritual one. And it should be reflected in how you relate to yourself and to others. And so this is about loving you as well. In fact, first of all, first and foremost, it's about self-love, not selfish, but self-love.
And we have to love ourselves first, because you cannot give what you don't have inside.
Exactly. And this is why if you can't love everybody, then you really can't love anybody.
Yourself.
So it starts here. And to go back where I started, that is what love has to do with it. That's what love has to do with it. And it is, we've turned it into something physical, something that you do rather than a way of being. It's not, it's probably no accident that we refer to it as we fall in love, because most of what that is a falling down, is a, it's a problem.
Mhm.
And so we are love. Love is who we are. And with that awareness, that informs your thinking, that informs your actions, that informs your relationships, and allows for us to have the kind of world that we are longing for. Again, let's not forget that the reason that we are longing for it is because we have known it. You can't be longing for something that you're not familiar with. So love and happiness and truth and harmony, those are not alien conditions. They're become alien. And that's because we ourselves have become alien. And so it's interesting that in our country right now, aliens are the enemy, you know? Well, what makes an alien the enemy is not just the alienation from each other, but is the alienation from self. We are alienated from our very selves. And for most of us, we want to be something or somebody else other than who we are, because we don't really know who we are. We don't know that we are this peaceful, pure, powerful, knowledgeful, loveful, joyful, truthful, infinite being that is forever and ever. And so this is the bond that we're tying. That's its significance. And when you have that, whether you show up on Saturday, doesn't really matter. We'd like you to come on Saturday and get your Rakhi tied, and because people will want to know what that is, and you'll have an opportunity to explain what it is. So it's good to have that on your hand, but we need to have you have that in your heart. This is what we need to have you be able to experience. And so, we'll have a nice atmosphere, and, there'll be fruits and lots of people around, sharing your wishes and your intentions and the promises that you are making. But you want to be that way when you are by yourself. because it is there that the nurturing takes place. It is there that you are able then to have that understanding that will bring us the world that we have lost. So we have to regain that, and it starts here. It starts with you. All right. Anyone else want to share anything?
I find it very easy for me to see animals and plants as souls. But it's sometimes when some people is hard for me to see them as souls.
Yes.
It's very natural for me to, I have a very strong connection with animals and plants. I feel like, I don't know, like I have this, I can feel for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that happened to me with some human beings, but not with other people. And I'm working on seeing
Yeah.
people as soul, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's
and a lot of
very
that comes
challenging.
from being fearful of each other. And that fear prevents us from being our true selves as well. And so it's I was going to say it's a relearning, but it's mostly remembering. We have to not just remember who we belong to and who we are, but we have to remember where we've come. And so this is as the sister said over here, it's a journey of consciousness. So we have to return to that
function.
highest level of function again. And all of the obstacles and all of the challenges and the fears and the doubts can and will be overcome. Okay. So we have a few minutes remaining, and are there any questions? I don't know how well you are hearing us on Zoom, but you can certainly write it in the chat, and even if we don't respond right away, we can always and will respond. This is, as I explained at the beginning, we had a slight conflict, so we're not in the classroom. And so the interaction, which might have been a lot more precise and effective, is affected by that. But what's not affected is the environment that we're all in. And I expect that you would be experiencing the love in this room the same way we can have everyone connected once those ties are reestablished spiritually. And so it's your spiritual fitness that's important. And we have to just keep working as hard as we can to get us to that level of function again. And we've all been there, we're all capable of it. It's not beyond your reach. It is very much within your reach, or you wouldn't be here. And so I appreciate that you made the effort to come this evening, and I trust that you find the time to come back on Saturday at 4:30 when we actually have the actual Rakshabandhan tying of it, and that way you can share and be in love and feel loved and share love. Okay. Okay, so let's just have a uh, a few moments of silence, and if you have anything else to add before I think Sister Rona may be joining us for a few minutes, assuming that she's complete with the group downstairs. Or we will be joining them upstairs as we close out this session. Just looking at our calendar. Next Thursday, um, the talk will be on spiritual solutions to modern relationship challenges. And so you're welcome to join us for that. And of course, if you're not on our mailing list, make sure that you are. And call us anytime for further information if you have any questions about our upcoming programs. So just let yourself relax. And remember that you are love. Love is who you are. And in this silence, which is your natural state, experience that power, experience that safety and security, experience that knowledge that's embodied in every soul and every seed that you're able to make manifest. And so hold that, behold it, and be at peace. Om Shanti.